Mic test 1 2. Mic test 1 2. Good morning, everyone. Time is 9:16. This is our first captions test for our live stream. For those in the audience, a kind reminder, before you come up to speak, please make sure that the light is on. If the light is not on, just go ahead and push the button and it will turn on. And before you leave the podium, go ahead and push it, turn it off so the next person will have it muted. I'm about to do that right now. Good morning, everyone. This is our final captions check for our live stream. For those of you who just walked into the room, a kind reminder to make sure that the light is on your microphones before you speak and to turn it off when it is no longer your turn, as I'm about to do right now.
Good morning. Welcome to the October 11th, 2024 meeting of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. It is 9:31. I'm joined by my colleague, Commissioner Caterina Gonzalez, our General Counsel, Mary Smith, and our Public Interest Counsel, Garrett Arthur. For each item that argument or discussion is allowed, we will inform parties in the public of time limits for their discussion. Registration closed at 9:30, but if you would like to address the commission on a particular item, please either visit our registration table if you're here in person, or if you're on the webinar, email agenda@tceq.texas.gov with your name, affiliation, and the item you would like to comment on. We will do our best to accommodate your request. For those making presentations, please wait to begin your presentation until I've asked you to begin speaking, and please check to make sure that your line is unmuted before proceeding. Ms. Smith, please call the first item.
Item number 1 is the consideration of the ALJ's proposal for decision and order regarding an enforcement action against Little Countryside Water Supply Corporation. The order of presentation will begin with the ED, followed by the respondent, and then the Office of Public Interest Counsel. Each party will have 5 minutes for oral argument. The ED may save time for rebuttal as the ED bears the burden of proof. With that, we'll begin with the Executive Director.
Good morning. Can you hear me all right? Perfect. Good morning, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Office of Public Interest Counsel. My name is William Hogan. I'm a staff attorney with the Litigation Division, and I'm here today representing the Executive Director. I'm here today in support of the ALJ's proposal for decision and proposed order as amended by the Executive Director's exceptions regarding the enforcement action against Little Countryside WSC. In this case, the Executive Director alleges that respondent committed 7 violations of TCEQ rules pertaining to public water systems. These include respondents' failure to submit disinfectant level quarterly operating reports, deliver a consumer confidence report to customers, collect valid lead and copper tap samples, collect a raw groundwater source E. coli sample after being notified of coliform positive distribution samples, pay overdue public health service fees, and provide radionuclide sampling results. The ALJ found that the Executive Director met its burden in proving that each of these violations occurred. The Executive Director also showed that the proposed administrative penalty for this matter was calculated fairly and in accordance with TCEQ's penalty policy, and that narrow recommended corrective actions are necessary for respondent to return to compliance with TCEQ rules. The ALJ found the Executive Director met its burden in this regard as well. The Executive Director submitted minor exceptions to the ALJ's proposed decision, all of which the ALJ accepted. Respondent neither opposed those exceptions nor submitted exceptions of its own. Accordingly, we request that the Commission adopt the ALJ's proposed order as amended by the Executive Director's exceptions. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. I have no questions at this time, and seeing none, we'll go on.
Next, we will hear from the respondent. I don't have anyone registered as being here on the webinar or in person for the respondent, but is there anyone here for the respondent? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to the Office of Public Interest Counsel then.
Good morning, Commissioners, General Counsel, and the Executive Director's attorney and staff. I'm Pranjal Mehta for the Office of Public Interest Counsel. OPIC supports the Administrative Law Judge's proposal for decision and ED's exceptions for minor corrections to the proposed order. OPIC agrees that the ED established by a preponderance of the evidence that the respondent committed all 7 violations. While OPIC acknowledges the respondent's efforts to comply with the rule requirements, the evidence she presented was insufficient to support her arguments. OPIC agrees with the ALJ that the corrective action is appropriate and necessary to address the outstanding violation. The record also shows that the ED's proposed penalty has been properly calculated under the penalty policy. For these reasons, OPIC recommends adoption of the ALJ's proposal for decision and the ED's exceptions. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Mehta. I have no questions. And Mr. Hogan, I don't think I heard anything to rebut, but do you have anything further to say?
No, sir, just that I would again open myself up for any questions you may have, but it doesn't sound like there are any.
Appreciate that. Having none, I'll provide my thoughts. I believe that the executive director has presented evidence that supports their request for the administrative penalty, public health service fee, and ordering provisions to bring this public water system back into compliance. I support adoption of the ALJ's proposed order with the changes that the ED noted in her exceptions and that the ALJ agreed to in their exceptions reply letter. Commissioner Gonzalez?
I'm in agreement. Would you like a motion?
Yes, ma'am. Thanks.
I move that we adopt the administrative law judge's proposed order with the modifications recommended by the executive director's exceptions and agreed to by the ALJ in the exceptions reply letter.
I second the motion. The motion being made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Ms. Smith, thank you for calling the next item, subtly allowing traffic to manage itself.
I'm sure people wonder what the long pause is about. Okay, item number 2 is the consideration of an application by the City of Josephine for new TPDES permit number WQ0010887003. The parties have been notified that the commissioners will not take oral argument but may ask questions, and those who have signed in for the record will be noted.
Thank you. Before us, we have the City of Josephine's application for a new TPDES permit. On this item, we have hearing requests that were submitted by Jane and James Ridgway. And on TPDES applications, hearing requests are governed by Chapter 55 of our rules and require the commission to grant the requests of affected persons. An affected person is one who has filed a timely hearing request that identifies a personal, justiciable interest not common to members of the general public. A requester should identify their location relative to the activity that's subject to the application and how and why the requester believes he or she will be affected by the activity in a manner not common to the members of the general public. Here, I agree with the executive director and OPIC that Mr. and Ms. Ridgway are affected persons under our rules, and I would recommend that we grant their hearing requests and refer the application to SOA for a contested case hearing. Commissioner Gonzalez, I'll stop there and ask your thoughts.
I'm in agreement.
Thank you. And the second part of our two-part analysis goes on to issues. Mr. and Ms. Ridgway raised timely concerns regarding nuisance odors, notice, the effects on wildlife, the accuracy of the application, flooding, erosion, air quality, and economic impacts. However, the commission does not have jurisdiction over economic impacts or over flooding or erosion beyond the siting of the facility. Nor does the commission have jurisdiction beyond nuisance odors with regards to air quality in TPDES applications. Therefore, I would not recommend the referral of those issues, but I do recommend the referral of issues regarding whether the draft permit meets the nuisance odor requirements, whether the draft permit is protective of wildlife, whether the application is accurate and contains all necessary information, and whether the applicant substantially complied with our notice requirements. I would also deny the requests for reconsideration in this matter, since I do not believe that they bring up new relevant and material information for the commission to consider. I also think this application is appropriate for an ADR referral. So I would include an ADR referral as well as a 180-day hearing duration in this matter. Commissioner Gonzalez?
I see it the same way.
I appreciate that. I can offer that motion. I would move that we grant the hearing requests of Jane and James Ridgway, deny the request for reconsideration, refer the application to SOA for a contested case hearing on the following issues. Issue A, whether the draft permit complies with applicable requirements to abate and control nuisance odors as set forth in 30 Texas Administrative Code, section 309.13E. Issue B, whether the draft permit is protective of terrestrial and aquatic wildlife in accordance with applicable regulations, including the Texas Surface Water Quality Standards in 30 Texas Administrative Code, chapter 307. Issue C, whether the application is accurate and contains all required information. Issue D, whether the applicant substantially complied with all applicable notice requirements. I further move that we refer the matter to the Commission's alternative dispute resolution program to run concurrently with the SOA preliminary hearing scheduling efforts, and that we set a hearing duration of 180 days from the date of the preliminary hearing until the proposal for decision is issued.
I second.
Motion seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 3. Ms.
On to
Smith?
3. Item number 3 is the consideration of an application by Motiva Enterprises LLC for renewal of TPDES permit number WQ00030057000. The parties have been notified that the commissioners will not take oral argument but may ask questions, and those who have signed in will be noted for the record.
Thank you. Motiva Enterprises LLC has applied for renewal of their TPDES permit to authorize the discharge of wastewater and stormwater. The renewal application does not propose an increase in the amount of effluent authorized or change the pattern or place of discharge. The backup material indicates that the effluent limitations and monitoring requirements in the draft permit remain the same as existing permit requirements. Therefore, based on Texas Water Code, section 26.028D and 30 Texas Administrative Code, section 55.201I5, I agree with the executive director and OPIC that there is no right to a hearing in this matter as a matter of law. What are your thoughts, Commissioner Gonzalez?
I see that the same way.
Do you have a motion?
Yes. I move that we find that there is no right to a hearing on this application pursuant to Texas Water Code, section 26.028D and 30 TAC 55.201I5, and that we deny the hearing request of John Beard, Ricky Espree, and Gregory Richard, that we issue the renewal of TPDES permit WQ000305700 to Motiva Enterprises LLC as recommended by the executive director, and that we adopt the executive director's response to comments.
I second the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion has been made and passed. Item 4. Ms. Smith.
Item 4 is the consideration of an application by SouthWaste Disposal LLC for a limited scope amendment to municipal solid waste permit number 2317. The parties have been notified that the commissioners will not take oral argument but may ask questions, and those who have signed in will be noted for the record.
Thank you. This decision again follows the two-part analysis of our agency for this matter. And TCQ has received 4 hearing requests on this item. I would grant the requests of Vincent Arguin, Catherine Avila, and Southside Independent School District. Mr. Arguin and Ms. Avila own property in close proximity to the composting facility and have raised concerns regarding the impact the odor is having on them and the use of their property. I believe the hearing request filed by Mr. Rolando Ramirez, who is the superintendent of schools, was filed on behalf of Southside ISD. Mr. Ramirez expresses concern that the strong odor from the facility is affecting the students and staff at a nearby school. Based on the issues raised in both Ms. Avila's and the school district's timely comments and timely hearing requests, I believe these requesters have also demonstrated a personal justiciable interest, not common to the general public. I would not grant the hearing request of Ashley Perez. It appears to me that she substantially copied the hearing request of Vincent Arguin, including a statement that she has, quote, property located less than a block away, end quote, from the facility. However, Ms. Perez is not listed on the landowner's map as owning any property within a quarter mile of the facility. Also, the address Ms. Perez provided indicates that her property is approximately 1.57 miles from the facility. Because her hearing request does not appear to state facts specific to her situation, and considering the distance of her residence from the facility, I do not believe she has demonstrated a personal justiciable interest that is not common to the general public. Commissioner Gonzalez, what are your thoughts?
I am in agreement.
Moving on to the issues analysis, the requesters raised relevant and material issues regarding odor and health. I think those 2 issues can be combined into one referred issue as follows. Quote, whether the draft permit contains sufficient provisions to prevent nuisance odors and protect the health of the residents or the requesters, end quote. I would not refer the issue raised regarding the impact the facility might have on the surrounding businesses because the commission lacks jurisdiction to consider this issue when evaluating a composting permit application. Commissioner Gonzalez?
I see those issues as well.
And as for the ADR referral and hearing duration, I would refer this matter to SOA with a 180-day hearing duration and an ADR referral to run concurrently with the SOA preliminary hearing scheduling efforts. If that sounds good for you, I'll make this motion. I move that we grant the hearing requests of Vincent Arguin, Catherine Avila, and Southside Independent School District, deny the remaining hearing requests, refer the matter to SOA for a contested case hearing on the following issue, whether the draft permit contains sufficient provisions to prevent nuisance odors and protect the health of the requesters, deny all remaining issues, refer the matter to the Commission's alternative dispute resolution program to run concurrently with the SOA preliminary hearing scheduling efforts, and specify that the maximum duration of the hearing is 180 days from the preliminary hearing to issuance of the proposal for decision.
I'll second.
Matter's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Ms. Smith, you can call the next item. Thank you.
That takes us to our enforcement docket, which are items 5 through 23. The executive director's staff is here to present these matters.
Good morning, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. For the record, my name is Michael Parrish of the Enforcement Division, and with me today are Melissa Cordell, also of the Enforcement Division, and Gitanjali Yadav of the Litigation Division, representing the Executive Director. Pending before you are items 5 through 23. The total assessed administrative penalties are $491,440, with $101,673 deferred, $104,190 applied towards supplemental environmental projects, and $285,577 to the general revenue. We respectfully request approval of these items and are available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Seeing no questions, we'll move on. Do we have anyone signed in on these items, Ms. Smith?
So on items 6, 7, and 8, we have several individuals who have signed in and indicated that they're just a bit here available for questions. And then we have people signed in on items 22 and 23. So if you'd like, I can start calling the people on 22.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So on item 22, we have Wallace Schmuck.
Wallace, are you available? Are you speaking on the phone line? If you're muted, you might check your, if you're speaking, you might check your microphone now. We're not hearing anything.
Well, should we move on to the second person on this item and see if they're available?
Thank you.
We also have Clint Vinson.
Mr. Vincent, are you available on the line? Not hearing anything on the line. You might check your mic again. Hearing nothing, we'll.
And I understand he may be trying to get on the line. So should we move on to item 23?
That'd be good. We'll come back to 22.
So on 23, we have Christy Hicks.
Is Ms. Hicks here with us? We may have lost her in the time since she's registered here in person.
And
We have another.
we also have Jason Hicks.
Appreciate their interest. We'll move on.
That's everybody
We can-
signed in.
We can open the line and go back to 22, see if either of the parties wanting to comment there have successfully been able to connect. Otherwise, we'll move on to OPIC. Anyone speaking on the line? Check your microphone, check your mute button one last time, please. We appreciate everyone attempting. We've got your names registered and have noted your interest in that manner. If we have no other commenters, let's move to OPIC.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Garrett Arthur, TCEQ Public Interest Counsel. OPIC has reviewed each of these enforcement items, including the public comment on item 23. Regarding that item, we appreciate Dr. Hicks' interest and participation. We also acknowledge and appreciate the ED's response. At this time, OPIC supports adoption of all the orders presented by ED staff.
Thank you, Mr. Arthur. I don't see any questions. Commissioner Gonzalez, what are your thoughts on the items before us?
Ready to make a motion if you're ready for one.
I'm as well. I'll only add I second the comments from Mr. Arthur from OPIC. I appreciate the comment from the public, even though we didn't receive them verbally today from some of the members of the public. They did have comments that were captured in the record, and I appreciate how our process is improved by that engagement from the public. Go ahead.
I move that we adopt items 5 through 23 as recommended today by the executive director.
I second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is made and passed. Ms. Smith, thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item 24, which is our public comment session. And during this public comment session, the commission will receive comments from the public on any matters within the jurisdiction of the TCEQ in accordance with Texas Water Code, Section 5.112, except for pending permit matters or other contested cases such as enforcement matters, which are subject to the ex parte prohibition found in Texas Government Code, Section 2001.061. In the interest of time, speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each, with the total time for public comment limited to 1 hour. Please note that the commission's discussion of subjects for which public notice has not been given are limited to statements of specific factual responses and recitation of existing policy. And we begin with our folks who are here in person. We had Annie Spade signed in.
Do we have a Miss Spade, Annie Spade, with us to provide a comment today?
Autumn Hensick.
Autumn.
We'll move to those who are with us virtually. And we have Errol Summerlin.
Errol, are you available? Can you hear us on the line? Can you speak? Identify yourself. We're not hearing anything if you are speaking.
My understanding is not signed in to the webinar. He's not in the webinar. Nor the other people we have who registered, but we'll just give it a try. We had Cindy Valdez. And Kathy Fulton.
Well, I appreciate the interest from those members of the public. I know there are many meetings, many opportunities going on, so it's often understandable if people peel off before they get to this point in our agenda. If we have anyone in the room here today wanting to provide public, or anyone else online who hasn't registered, if we can open the line to take comment. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and move on and conclude the
Let me,
agenda.
one moment. I'm
Sure.
trying to. Okay, one Well, I think we should probably move on. If you'd like me to call the next items.
Thank you.
The next items are 25 through 28. These items are for closed session, but the commission will not be meeting in closed session today.
The agenda stands adjourned. The time is 9:56 a.m. Thank you. We're increasingly worried that our phone line just wasn't working.
Well, something's